Education was extremely important. If you see the modernity, it's very much about education. How we are changing society, how we are giving equal opportunity. The basic philosophy was about education. I do believe that education will remain very important, but something is going to happen with the aging of the population. If you remember from the previous speaker, in 2050, 1/3 of the population of Europe is going to be older than 65. And then in a strange way, you're going to have a very difficult situation in which older people, it's going to be difficult for them to retire. For younger people, it's going to be much more difficult to have a steady jobs. But how the social justice is going to look in this society dominated by older people? And I do believe public health here is becoming of incredible importance. Because, listen, we are now more and more living in the world where this type of a major common diseases have been handled. And more you need a special financial assistance to get this premium health that is allowing you to have your old age as an active person. Basically to make aging something more different than waiting for the death. And I do believe that here is going to be the major difference between the rich and the poor. The rich people can afford them to be active, to do well intellectually, physically, till the very end of their life. And many people basically are going really to be thrown outside of life, nevertheless, that they are not dead yet. I do believe this new attitude and this inequality in dying is going to be a very important issue and something that I do believe should be addressed also by philanthropic organizations, because this is going to have a lot to do about how our societies feel about themselves.
In Europe, but particularly in Central and Southeastern Europe, we are confronted with budget austerity, which means that governments are reducing discretionary spending. Governments have to reduce the level of public goods and services delivered to their populations. So this would make any type of grant makers more important. Unfortunately, we don't have the means to step in and take up all the programs that are no longer subsidized or funded by taxpayers' money channeled through governments. And at the same time, it's becoming more difficult for the grant makers themselves, because the funds that are available are not growing, because the institutions backing us have to pay more taxes themselves, are not becoming more profitable. The funds that have had large endowments in the past are losing wealth or financial possibilities because the stock market valuations of their funds are going down. So I think we see that trap in becoming more important because certain areas are no longer covered by governments and publicly supported and financed programs. And at the same time, our own margin of maneuver is not becoming larger, but getting smaller for economic and fiscal and political reasons. So I think we have two avenues. The one is to spend money on things where we believe that more public awareness should be put on, so we could put a focus on certain issues and try to drive the public agenda, convincing the general public that something needs to be done about it, trying to convince the political sphere by mobilizing the general public on certain issues. On the other hand, there are certain issues where we think we should do the job. We should fund civil society activities. We should fund NGOs and partner organizations that are stepping in, that are providing basic services, that are helping people. Behind that still is this hope that Central and Eastern Europe will return to a growth path, that Central and Eastern Europe will be able to catch up with productivity and living standards of Western Europe and other richer parts of the world. But this requires stable funding of the private sector. And so I think the banking industry, a sound, solid, solvent banking industry is very important, because this is the way through which funds are channeled to the private sector. And a thriving private sector would be probably the best guarantee of getting Central and Eastern Europe back onto this growth path.